Welcome to MEDIMAGZA the podcast, South Africa's leading voice in medical lifestyle innovation. I'm your host, Clive Maestri. Today we're joined by Komona Govender, founder of AryaVedic, South Africa's first Ayurvedic skin clinic. Now, Komona is a passionate advocate for blending the timeless wisdom of Ayurveda with modern aesthetics to achieve radiant, balanced skin. We'll explore what makes Ayurvedic skincare unique, how to identify your dosha, and how ancient practices rather can empower modern wellness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
For listeners new to Ayurveda, how would you define it in your own words?
That's such a good question because one of the things I really struggled with when I got into the Ayurvedic space or when I started studying it was trying to figure this out because it's such a broad modality. So I always love when I get that question because I've been there where I just did not understand it. So Ayurveda is a Sanskrit term, and your direct translation actually means way of life, knowledge of life, or science of life, specifically your life. And the important thing to know about Ayurveda is it's an ancient Indian system of holistic healing. So it's got so many depths of modalities to help treat not just your skin, but it can treat chronic illnesses, chronic disorders, mind and body. It can help with mental stability. So it creates complete harmony once you understand, and I know we're going to get into doshas, but once you understand your Ayurvedic blueprint, you are 100% able to ensure that you create complete harmony in the mind and body. So just complete balance.
That's quite brilliant. And like I said, I think prior to the conversation, not everyone knows fully what this is about. So this is going to be a very interesting chat. What inspired you to start Ayurvedic, and how has your journey shaped your approach to skin health?
So I've been in medical aesthetics I studied to be a dermatologist. That was my thing. I absolutely loved it. I've always had a passion for skincare. And so that was it. I just saw that as start game and end game. And during COVID, so I've only ever worked with doctors. And during, when we treat autoimmune skin conditions, your method of treatment a lot of the time is medication. During COVID, due to the stress and anxiety, all these autoimmune skin conditions started flaring up. And one of the most common questions I would get from patients, we were part obviously of the support staff, was, is there nothing I can change in my diet? Is there nothing else we can do? Because these conditions were flaring up, the only other option from a medical point of view at that time was to increase the dosage of certain medications or look for something a bit stronger. With that, we of course know comes more side effects. So patients were in a dire need of looking for something holistic to add on, not to replace, but just to add on so it can help limit the side effects and they can lead a healthier life. And I remember the one day sitting in my office thinking, gosh, there has to be something else. This can't be it. With the amount of wellness taking up space in the world, there has to be something else. And I always laugh at this because I'm Indian, so it kind of seems like, oh yes, of course you're into Ayurveda. But it wasn't even on my radar. That was not even on my radar. I looked at homeopathy, I looked at so many other different things, and for some reason, Ayurveda just kept popping up. And when I looked into it, and yes, at first it was just a bit overwhelming. So it did take me some time to actually bite the bullet and start studying. But when I looked into it, I was like, hang on, this is the most cost-effective way to be healthy. A lot of it has to do with natural approaches that does not have side effects, but rather side benefits, which I thought was quite powerful.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's how I got into it. And it wasn't even to make a career out of it. It was really just for me to continue in the medical aesthetic space to say, you know what, this is an additional thing you can add on. And from somehow from that, it grew into Ayurvedic, and I'm just so grateful for that.
That's brilliant. And I love the fact that, with when it comes to healthcare systems, there's never just one approach. And it's amazing how innovations in healthcare and research just unearth so many different things. Now,
Yeah.
one of the questions I was very keen on as well. Can you explain the concept of doshas and why
Yes.
understanding your dosha is essential for skincare?
Okay. So What is important to know with Ayurveda, and I know chat has to do more with the skincare part of it, but Ayurveda is incorporated into every aspect of your life. Whether you're struggling with chronic health conditions, poor gut health, fatigue, mental health disorders. So it's not just specifically for skin. Dosha is to understand how your mind and body works. Dosha basically translates to imbalance or something that's just not right in the body. We have three different doshas. You have a Vata, a Kapha, and a Pitta. So it is your Ayurvedic blueprint that is basically designed within you at the time of conception. And it's basically an energy that just lives within you. And based on what your dosha is, this is how your mind and your body will work according to that. So just to give you in terms of skincare, if you're a Vata dosha, you'll experience dryness, eczema, you can experience very delicate skin, premature aging, so the wrinkles start a little bit earlier than your peers. If you're a Pitta dosha, you'll experience pigmentation and acne because that has everything to do with inflammation in the body and the skin. Your Kapha doshas, because everything just works a little bit slower, you'll be prone to swelling, quite a bit of edema, a little bit of delicate skin around the body, also prone to some atopic skin conditions. So knowing your dosha, besides the fact that it helps you function overall better daily, but in skincare specifically, if you are not looking at the dosha, you won't be able to fully give your clients the desired results because we need to get down to the root of the problem. Where are these imbalances? What's happening? And how do we improve from there?
Mm. And off the topic, can you have more than one dosha that presents itself in your
Yes.
body? Okay.
Yes, that's such a good question. So you can be a combination of all three. We call it Tridoshic. You can be a combination of two, or you can be dominant in one.
All right.
And if you don't mind, if I can give you some personality traits of each dosha, just so that you understand where it sort of fits in, maybe you'll be able to sort of gauge where you fit in each of these doshas. But your Pitta doshas have everything to do with fire, very powerful people, very good in a leadership position, walk into a room and immediately feel intimidated by them. So very fiery, very competitive people. So even in the workspace, knowing your dosha is so important because you're able to work with others much better. When your Pitta is off balance, this is when it leads to, okay, skin conditions, your pigmentation and your acne. But other changes you'll experience is inflammatory conditions and temperament. Your mood temperature, temperament will change. So you'll notice you a bit shorter with people. Your tolerance for people is a bit lower. Your moodiness is a little bit out of hand. So that's your Pitta dosha. Just think of everything fiery and fire. Pitta doshas, because they're so competitive, they are the types that will never want to lose a conversation, an argument. So they will go on and on and on. And they are very straightforward. So especially like in email communication, sometimes they can come across very short, but it's just, again, their dosha. It's, not a personal thing. It's just their dosha.
Yeah.
Your Kapha doshas, everything tends to work a bit slower. So you'll notice they speak slower. They will complete a task much slower, which can actually irritate a Pitta dosha, by the way. They will very loyal employees because they stay away from any conflict, any confrontation. But body changes, they can be more prone to obesity because everything's working a bit slower. Digestion is slow, your mental clarity is a bit slower. And then you've got your Vata dosha where everything is fast. So talking fast, thinking fast. In your brain, you've got a million things, a million tabs open at once. You've got so many ideas. So the Vatas are very creative, but when they are off balance, it can lead to a lot of anxiety because there's just so much going on.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And as you were talking, I think I was self doshaing myself there.
Yeah.
What are some universal Ayurvedic skincare rituals that benefit everyone, regardless of their doshas?
Okay, so firstly, cleansing your skin. Our skin desquamates on a daily basis. Desquamation is basically the process of the skin getting rid of dead skin. So, cleansing your skin for 60 seconds. So you are wasting your product and your money if you're just slapping that cleanser on and taking it off. And we see this more with our male clients where they're like, oh, I'm not putting anything on my skin, so I don't really need to cleanse my skin. But the fact that you've got a skin that is functioning, things go in, things come out, you need to make sure that you're cleansing your skin for 60 seconds. Choose a cleanser that's appropriate for your skin type and make sure morning and evening you are cleansing for a full 60 seconds. It gives your product time to actually emulsify with the dead skin, and it offers a much brighter appearance on the skin. It also, anything you apply after that is absorbed so much better into the skin.
That's wonderful advice
So
because I
yeah.
think I'm quite guilty of that as well. Tell me something. How does diet and internal well-being influence skincare from that perspective?
That's also such a good question. In Ayurveda, your diet and your internal well-being is everything. It is, that's where the root problems start. We've got something called your gut-brain axis. You know, your gut and your brain should be in communication constantly. And when things are off balance, or out of balance, the brain and the gut stops communicating. And this is what ultimately leads to, well, amongst other problems, it leads to skin issues as well. So diet, and in Ayurveda, remember this is an ancient modality that comes from rural areas in India. That's where it was born. And the main function or the way they would treat clients is through diets. So it's so important to make sure we are eating correctly. You're not just eating to be slim or so that you have energy to go to the gym. You're actually eating for longevity. You are
Mhm.
eating so that your brain functions, your nervous system functions so much better, which means it enhances your coping mechanism. So diet plays a huge part in a lot of the Ayurvedic hospitals. I mean, your meals every day is dal and rice or khichdi. So because it's so gut healing and it helps your body heal much quicker. So yeah, so when it comes to your diet, and especially the Ayurvedic approach to diet, it's so important that less ingredients are more beneficial. I think these days we've become accustomed to adding as much as possible into salads, into these Mexican bowls that confuses your digestive system. Your gut actually starts in your mouth. So it's your esophagus, it's your intestines, all of that is part of your gut. So what you put into your mouth, your tongue first notices what the taste is and stimulates your digestive enzymes according to that. So if
Mm.
you've put a bunch of different ingredients and flavors into your mouth, you're already confusing the digestive system. So you're already going wrong from there. So
Yeah.
with an Ayurvedic approach, it's keeping it so simple. Some may say slightly bland, but it's healthy. It's healthy, and that's what we want these days. We don't want to wake up feeling tired. We don't want to wake up with dark circles under our eyes, bad skin, or now I need to cover it up. Now I need to do this. It all starts with your gut.
That's super interesting. What are some misconceptions about Ayurvedic skincare you encounter, and
Gosh.
how do you address them?
So what I will say, one of the main comments I received when, and I'm still in the medical aesthetic space, but when I started studying Ayurveda, there were, of course, a lot of comments about how can you go from a medical space to something like Ayurveda? You know, people sort of saw it as a downgrade, and I obviously did not. And so there was quite a bit of, I would say, backlash when I got into the Ayurvedic space. There's a big misconception is, oh, if it's natural, it's not going to work. So yes, if I take a plant leaf and rub it on my skin, I'm not going to see results. But if you take it and it follows the proper formulation protocols so that it's actually modified to then absorb into the skin, you're going to see amazing benefits. And one of the things we need to remember is as much as there is a thing about, okay, natural doesn't work, our current modalities are all stem from natural approach. Back in the day in rural areas, there was no such thing as skincare. They would take clays, natural clays, and use that to cleanse the skin. Plants were used to make pastes. They were ground and they were used to make paste to prevent infections from wounds, open cuts, insect bites. So all of this that's currently happening in the modern aesthetic world has been derived from ancient science. And I think we forget that and we need to remind ourselves and we need to be thankful that it started somewhere. And a lot of cosmeceutical skincare ranges, like I said, I'm still in the medical aesthetic space. So a lot of cosmeceutical, medical skincare ranges are now using plant extracts, and I think that speaks for itself.
I love that you talk about transitional medicine like that. How do you balance ancient Ayurvedic practices with modern aesthetics and technology at your clinic?
Initially, it was a bit difficult, I won't lie, because if you've spent 15 years talking purely from a medical aesthetic approach, and now you're like, hey, let's talk about your diet, it took some time to get there. However, what we do is it always boils down to consultation. Okay, why are you here and what are you looking to achieve? So, just to give you an example, if someone's got an acne-prone skin, we obviously take your diet into consideration. We eliminating your triggers that could be causing an overproduction of oil and inflammation in the skin. And then everyone wants a quick fix these days, and medical aesthetics is known to give you those results. So we also have patients though who just want an Ayurvedic approach. Then we go full on Ayurvedic facials, Ayurvedic products, your home care products, diet, etc. But we've got a really beautiful blend. Again, it's customized to each client and what they're willing to do, what they are, what they're looking for, and what their desired outcome is. So it's really just customized to each client. I think we've been really lucky because all of my aesthetic clients have just embraced the Ayurvedic way, and it just makes me so happy when they see the results and they understand it. So I'm so glad that Ayurveda is just taking up more space in the world.
I think that's brilliant, especially having a conversation like this, getting it more ground and using this as a vehicle to talk about it. Because a lot of people, I think they think about non-traditional medicine and they go, oh, that's not real medicine. But when they finally try it
Exactly.
out and see the proof in the pudding, it's incredible. Are there
Yeah.
any simple daily rituals or ingredients you recommend for people starting their Ayurvedic skincare journey?
So a daily ritual that you can really adhere to, that's not going to cost you anything, is just to make sure your routine is there. Your skin thrives on routine and it communicates better with you on routine. So, for instance, I went on a bit of a holiday in December. It was much warmer, so routine was out the window, which happens when you're on holiday or during the festive season. And I've got an acne prone skin, so naturally my skin started breaking out. And again, when you start, like for my skin specifically, when it starts to slightly break out, that's already your skin communicating with you, saying, Mona, listen, there's a bit of an imbalance. Let's get back on track. So there's always telltale signs. Make sure you're having a look at your skin. Make sure when you're cleansing your skin, it's not just rhythm. You're actually feeling, are there any bumps? Is there any irregularities? Do I need to see a dermatologist? Do I need to? You have to make sure you're communicating with your skin as much as it's communicating with you. Keeping your skincare simple is so important. As much as there's fancy, amazing products out there, it's so important to remember that the main function of the skin is protection. So any ingredients it does not recognize, it is going to push out and reject, which is also, I think, one of the reasons why so many people have been struggling with their skin is because of incorrect product use, using the wrong product for, your desired outcome. So it's very, very important to make sure that you are actually aware of the changes that are happening in your skin. And to be honest, the better your diet is, the better your skin will be.
I love that you say routine, 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 and that's so important, hey. How do you
Mm.
see Ayurveda's role evolving in South Africa's broader health and wellness industry?
I was having this conversation with a patient of mine earlier, and it just makes me so excited because there's such a growing demand for natural and preventative health. We have a wealth of information at our fingertips, ChatGPT, you've got your Google, whatever information you need, you can go and find it. And we've seen over the years, and maybe it's become a little bit more mainstream since COVID, but people are becoming more and more aware of chemicals in products, in your in medication, and they want to stay away from that. So I think Ayurveda is going to take up the space that it needs to. It's definitely becoming more well known, considering it's one of the oldest, healing modalities. It's definitely, I almost feel like it's being born again, and I'm really excited to see where it goes in the next couple of years. But one thing for sure is that you can't go wrong with Ayurveda. It is such a beautifully customized approach that if it's done correctly, if you are being treated by an Ayurvedic therapist, a qualified Ayurvedic therapist or Ayurvedic doctor, you will 110% get your desired result.
Finally, what advice would you give someone who is fairly hesitant about trying Ayurveda? How would you calm them and be like, it's fine, it's safe?
You know what? I always believe it's all about education. So we are nervous, we are hesitant when we do not fully understand something. So I would say pick up the phone, call me, let's just have a chat, clear up any misconceptions or any hesitations you've got. But also, do some research. Go and do some research. Before I started studying Ayurveda, that's what I did. You don't just decide to sign up for something and decide, okay, this is your new way of life. I needed to like figure out, okay, is this for me? Is it not? And initially it was such overwhelming information, but choose one thing you want to work on and allow us to help you do that the Ayurvedic way. And I promise you, it's an absolute game changer. You will want to incorporate Ayurveda into every aspect of your life.
Fantastic. Now, I'm sure the listeners are really, really stoked and want to talk to you more. How do they get a hold of you? How do they book appointments? Give us everything.
Okay, so we've got a WhatsApp number, which is 078 We are literally available 24/7. We've got a website, www.aryavedic.co.za. And then we've also got our social media handles on the website, so you can just have a look at that.
Oh, fantastic. Well, there you have it. That's Komona joining us on Medimag ZA, the podcast. Of course, for more of this, you can subscribe, leave us a review, and share your thoughts with us. Of course, until next time, stay healthy, stay inspired, and keep exploring new paths to wellness with Medimag ZA, the podcast. Thank you so much, Komona.
Thank you so much, Clive.